She appears from the shadows, but he doesn't run. The space station was cold and silent. Lights flickered on and off. The air was heavy, filled with the smell of smoke and burning wires. Liam sat alone inside a broken control room, holding a flashlight in one hand and a small metal tool in the other. He had been trapped here for 2 days now. No communication, no food, and worst of all, no way out. Outside the cracked window, stars blinked in the distance. It was supposed to be a simple mission. Get in, scan the systems, and leave. But then something attacked. Something not human. Liam had heard the stories. A creature with glowing scars, red eyes, long claws. It moved fast and hunted silently. Soldiers called it the Ghost of Sector 9. Liam didn't believe in ghosts, but he believed in danger. And this station felt dangerous. He heard a sound. Click. It came from the hallway. He froze. Click, click, click. Slow, soft footsteps. Not heavy like boots. Not sharp like metal. Something different. Something smooth, almost like skin on steel. He turned off his flashlight and held his breath. The door to the control room creaked open. A tall figure stepped inside. Her body was thin but strong, covered in tight black armor. Long silver hair floated around her shoulders like it had a life of its own. Her skin was dark blue, and glowing white scars ran down her arms, her neck, and even her face. Her eyes glowed softly in the dark. She didn't blink. She just stared at him. Liam stood up slowly. He didn't move to fight. He didn't run. He didn't scream. He just looked at her and nodded. "You found me," he said calmly. She tilted her head. "You're not afraid." Liam shook his head. "Should I be?" She stepped closer, her boots not making the sound. "Everyone runs when they see me. Even your soldiers shoot before asking questions. I'm not like them," he said. "I don't shoot unless I understand what I'm shooting at." She stopped just a few feet away from him. He could see the patterns of her glowing scars now. They pulsed softly, like they were alive. "What are you?" he asked, his voice still calm. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked at the broken control panels, the shattered glass, the mess around the room. "I don't have a name," she said finally. "But your people call me a weapon." Liam frowned. "Are you?" "No," she said softly. "But I was made to be one." Liam sat down again, slowly. He picked up a water bottle and took a sip. Then, without thinking, he held it out to her. She looked at it, confused. "What is that?" "Water," he said. "You look tired." She stared at the bottle like it was poison. "You offer water to a monster." Liam shrugged. "You haven't hurt me. So maybe you're not a monster." She took the bottle from his hand and drank. Carefully, slowly. After a moment, she sat down across from him, just like that. Two strangers. One human, one alien. Both trapped, both tired. "What's your name?" she asked. "Liam." "You don't fear death." "Liam?" "I fear the wrong kind of death," he said. "But sitting here, talking to you, that doesn't feel like death." She smiled for the first time. Just a little. He looked at her glowing scars again. "They're beautiful," he said. She looked surprised. "No one has ever said that to me." "Maybe they should," he replied. For a while, they sat in silence. The hum of the broken station filled the room. Then Liam leaned forward. "Why are you here?" he asked. She looked down. "I was hiding. From your people. From my own. I have powers I don't understand. When I touch others, they go mad. So I stay alone." Liam nodded slowly. "But now you found me." "Yes," she said. "And I'm not afraid." "No," she whispered. "You're not." She leaned in, her face close to his. "Why?" she asked. "Why are you not afraid of me?" Liam looked into her glowing eyes. His voice was soft but steady. "Because I think you're not here to kill me," he said. "I think you're here to find the truth, just like me." She stared at him for a long moment. Then, without a word, she stood up. "I'll show you something," she said. "Follow me." Liam stood. "Where are we going?" She looked back at him. "To the part of this station no human has seen before," she said, "and to the secret that could change everything." And with that, she disappeared into the shadows. But this time, Liam followed. A secret she never shared before. The hallway was dark, cold, and silent. Liam followed her through twisting corridors, lit only by the soft white glow of her scars. She walked ahead, fast and smooth, almost like she was floating. Her silver hair shimmered every time she turned her head to check if he was still behind her. He didn't ask questions. Not yet. He just followed, his footsteps echoing in the silence. Finally, she stopped in front of a sealed metal door. The walls around it were covered in strange alien symbols, glowing faintly. The air here felt different, heavier, like it was holding a secret. She turned around. "This part of the station was hidden by your people. They built over it, locked it, but they never understood what was inside." Liam looked at the symbols. "What is it?" She stepped forward. The door responded to her presence. It opened with a soft hiss. Beyond it, the room looked ancient, not damaged, not broken like the rest of the station. This room was clean, untouched, like time had forgotten it. A quiet hum filled the air. In the center, a floating crystal pulsed with gentle light. "This is where I was born," she said. Liam blinked. "You were born here." "Not like you think," she said. "I wasn't born from a mother. I was created in this chamber by a race that no longer exists." Liam stepped closer to the crystal. It glowed brighter as he approached. "What race?" "They called themselves the Carl. They were wise, powerful. They studied time, energy, life. But they feared death. So they made me, and others like me." Liam's voice dropped. "Other weapons?" She nodded. "Yes. Living weapons. Blades shaped like people." Liam looked around the room. Everything looked smooth, glowing, alive in some way. This wasn't human tech. "I was made to fight, to destroy. But something went wrong," she continued. "What went wrong?" "I didn't want to kill." Her voice cracked for the first time. Liam looked at her, and he saw pain, not the kind made by cuts or fire, but the kind left behind by loneliness. "I was different from the others," she said. "When they touched my mind, they saw peace. They called it a failure. They tried to destroy me. I escaped." She moved to the crystal and placed her hand on it. A glowing map appeared above them. Stars, planets. One of them looked very familiar. "That's Earth," Liam whispered. "Yes," she said. "And this," she pointed to another blue planet, "was my home before it was destroyed." Liam stared at the two planets. "They're connected, in ways your people never understood. My creators knew Earth. They'd visited your planet long ago. They saw something special in humans, something they couldn't find anywhere else." Liam turned to her. "What did they see?" "Hope," she said. "The one thing my kind could not understand." Silence filled the room again. Then Liam asked the question that had been burning inside him. "Why show me this?" She looked straight into his eyes. "Because when I touched you, I didn't see fear. I saw light." "You touched me?" "Not with hands, with energy. When I first walked into the control room, I reached out to your mind to feel what you were. I expected fear, but I felt kindness." She stepped closer to him. Her scars glowed more brightly now. "You don't know what you carry, Liam," she said. "There's something inside you, something that doesn't belong to this time." Liam raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" She didn't answer. Instead, she lifted her hand slowly. "May I?" she asked. He nodded. She placed her hand on his chest. Her touch was warm, not cold. Light flowed from her fingers into his skin. For a moment, he felt like the air was bending around him. His heart beat faster. Then she stepped back, her eyes wide, shocked. "What did you see?" he asked. "You're not normal," she whispered. "There's a memory inside you, but it's not yours." Liam felt a sudden ache in his head. Images flashed, shapes, stars, words he didn't understand. "What's happening to me?" he asked. She looked terrified. "They placed something inside you. A key. Maybe even a part of one of them." Liam held his head, trying to focus. "Why me? I was just a soldier." "No," she said. "You were chosen." The lights flickered. A deep rumble shook the floor. She turned to the crystal. "They're waking up." "Who?" "The others," she said. "The real weapons. The ones who didn't fail." Liam stood still. "And they're coming here." "Yes. They will destroy everything. And they won't stop." "What do we do?" She looked at him, her eyes glowing strong and fierce. "We run." "But you said—" She interrupted him. "Liam, if they find you, they'll rip the key from your body. And they don't care if it kills you." Liam clenched his fists. "Then let's not give them the chance." She gave a small smile. "You really are different." And together, they turned and ran through the shadows as the ancient vault behind them began to crack open, waking something buried for centuries. Enemy at the door. And he defends her. The hallway groaned under their feet as Liam and Nera ran through the ruined space station. Red emergency lights flashed along the walls. Behind them, distant metal screams echoed through the pipes and vents. The vault door had cracked open, and something inside had begun to wake. Liam didn't know what it was, but Nera's eyes had changed. They were no longer calm. They were filled with warning, with fear. And if she was afraid, then whatever was coming wasn't just a monster. It was worse. "Where are we going?" Liam shouted, trying to keep up with her long, quick steps. "There's an old med bay on the east wing," Nera said. "It's got reinforced doors and emergency shields. We can hide there. For a little while." They turned a corner and froze. Standing in front of them were 3 human Marines, fully armed, helmets on, laser rifles aimed, hands where I can see them. The lead Marine barked. Liam lifted his hand slowly, breathing hard. "Don't shoot." The Marines ignored him. Their eyes were locked on Nera. "She's with me," Liam shouted. "She's not attacking. She's not the enemy. She's the alien target we've been ordered to capture or eliminate," the Marine growled. "Step away from her." Nera didn't move. She stood tall, silent, her eyes glowing faintly. Her scars flickered with soft light, but her body stayed still. She wasn't threatening them. She wasn't even reaching for a weapon. But the Marines didn't care. "I said step away, soldier," the Marine shouted. Liam didn't move. "She saved my life," he yelled back. "She showed me something. Something that proves we're not alone in this war." "Last warning," the Marine barked. Liam slowly stepped in front of Nera. He raised his arms wider, shielding her with his body. "If you're gonna shoot her," he said, "you'll have to shoot me first." There was silence. The lead Marine stared at him through his visor. "Are you protecting that thing?" "She's not a thing," Liam said. "She's a person, and if we don't start listening to her, we're all going to die." The second Marine lowered his weapon just a little. "You've gone soft, Liam." "Maybe," Liam said, still standing firm. "Or maybe I'm the only one who's actually thinking." The air felt like it might break. Then Nera spoke, soft but firm. "They're coming." Everyone turned toward the sound echoing from the hall behind them. Boom. The metal walls shook. Boom. Something massive was moving closer. The Marines turned their heads toward the sound. The lead one barked. "What the hell is that?" Nera answered, "You opened the vault." Now the old ones have awakened. The Marines looked confused. Then the lights shut off completely. Darkness. A deep, growling breath rolled down the hallway like thunder. Suddenly, from the dark, a massive hand slammed into the wall, pulling metal down like paper. A creature, 12 feet tall, made of flesh, bone, and twisted metal, stepped into the light. Its red eyes locked on them. "No time," Liam said. "Run." The Marines opened fire. Their lasers hit the beast's chest, but it didn't flinch. "Go," Liam shouted. He grabbed Nera's hand and pulled her through a side door. The Marines tried to hold the line, but screams followed soon after. They ran down another hallway. Doors slammed shut behind them. Liam activated an old emergency lock. It hissed and clicked. Safe, for now. They stopped inside a small control room, panting hard. "Your people," Nera said softly. "They don't understand what they've awakened." Liam nodded. "They won't listen." "I tried." She sat down, holding her side. A piece of metal had cut her. Her glowing blood slowly dripped onto the floor. Liam knelt beside her and tore a strip from his sleeve, pressing it gently on the wound. "You okay?" She looked into his eyes. "Why did you stand in front of me?" He smiled slightly. "Because you're the only one not trying to kill me." She shook her head. "You risked your life. For me, even after knowing what I am." "I saw what you are," he said. "You're more human than they are." There was a long silence. Nera finally looked down. "I've never been protected before," she whispered. "Not by anyone." "Well," Liam said, standing, "get used to it. Because I'm not leaving your side." Suddenly, a screen on the wall buzzed to life. A red warning flashed. "Unknown NTATY APPRO HHAing Medical CC2R." More creatures. Nera stood up slowly. "They're tracking me." "Then we need to move again," Liam said. "No," she said. "We can't keep running. If we want to survive, we have to fight." Liam nodded. "Then we fight." "But first," she said, "you need to see what I really am." She placed her hand on a control panel. The lights in the room dimmed. A hologram of her body appeared, glowing lines showing her structure, her energy, and something else. Inside her chest was a small orb, bright, pulsing, ancient. "This is why they made me," she said. "This orb holds knowledge from a lost age. But it's also a weapon, a key to something far greater." Liam stared. "And the creatures, they want it." "Yes, if they take it, they'll become unstoppable. And I suppose I'm still the chosen one with something in me too." She nodded. "You carry the other half of the key." Liam sighed. "Of course I do." The floor shook again. They turned to the door. "Time to go," he said. But before they could leave, the screen blinked again. NUWSIGNALDTECTE. Command ship arriving. Nera stared at the screen. "That's your commander," she whispered. Liam frowned. "That's not good." The hidden vault and the ancient message. The floor shook again. Dust rained from the ceiling. Liam helped Nera to her feet, both staring at the flashing warning on the cracked control screen. "Command ship docking. 0347. Outside, the dark sky rumbled as the human battleship slowly latched onto the station's upper hull. Red lights swirled in mourning. Escape pods were locked. Communication lines were jammed. The storm was closing in, and they were caught in the middle. "We don't have much time," Liam said, tightening the strap on his gear. Nera placed her hand on the wall. Her glowing scars lit up again. "There's one more place we need to go. It's deeper, hidden. The humans don't know about it." Liam glanced at her, confused. "Another vault." She nodded. "The first vault was just the beginning. What I showed you before, that orb inside me, it's only one part of something ancient. The rest is buried in the lower core." It's called the Heart Room. The Heart Room, Liam asked. It was built by the Carl, my creators, she said. They used it to store knowledge and warnings. They left the room and moved fast through shadowy corridors. The lights flickered above, and the air grew heavier with each step. The further they went, the more the station changed. The metal walls started turning into stone, smooth and curved, almost like bone. Alien symbols glowed faintly along the path. Liam noticed they were pulsing slowly, as if they were alive, or waiting. They reached a circular door. No keypad, no scanner, just a flat surface covered in symbols. Nera placed her palm on it. A sharp hum filled the air. Liam stepped back as the door slowly opened with a hiss of air. Cold, ancient air. Inside was a round chamber filled with soft, white light. Floating pillars rotated in silence, and between them were images, holograms of star systems, galaxies, and 2 planets, Earth, and a second, glowing world. Nera stepped into the room first. "This is it," she said. "The truth." Liam followed her in. As soon as he did, the room reacted. A beam of light shot down from the ceiling and wrapped around him. His body lifted an inch off the ground. He gasped as images flashed in his mind. He saw visions, memories not his own. A war, thousands of years ago. 2 species, humans and the Carol, not enemies, but allies. Together, they fought something terrible. The third race, a devourer of stars, a parasite of life. Liam dropped to his knees as the vision ended. He was shaking. What was that? Nera stood beside him, helping him up. "You saw it too. What was that creature in the vision?" he asked. "They called it the Void Maw, a living darkness. It destroyed the Carol homeworld. It almost reached Earth once. But they sealed it away, buried it. But that seal is breaking now." Liam looked around at the glowing images. "Why me? Why do I see these things?" "Because you are a memory holder," Nera said. "The Carel placed fragments of their knowledge inside human bloodlines. Only a few. You are one of them. You're connected to the seal. But I'm just a soldier." "No," she said. "You are a key. You can awaken the rest of the knowledge. That's why the enemy wants you. That's why the humans will never understand." Liam stared at the floating hologram of Earth. "How much time do we have?" he asked. Nera closed her eyes. "Not enough." A loud beep echoed in the chamber. "Docking complete. Troops deploying." The humans had landed. They were coming. Liam and Nera turned back toward the entrance, but the door slammed shut. The light in the room flickered. A new voice echoed from the center of the chamber. It wasn't male or female. It sounded like thousands of whispers mixed together. "You have entered the Heart Room. Final memory sequence will now begin." A large symbol on the floor began to glow. Liam stood inside it without thinking. The air shimmered, and a figure formed in front of them. Not real, not alive. A hologram. Tall, long white robes, eyes made of light. It was one of the Carl. "To those who find this message," the figure spoke, "know this. We failed. Our pride destroyed us. But we left behind the seeds of hope, our memories inside chosen minds. You are the last chance." Liam's mouth went dry. "It's speaking to us." The figure continued. "The darkness returns. It cannot be killed. It can only be locked away. But the lock needs 2 keys, one of flesh, one of light." Liam turned to Nera slowly. "You're the light," he whispered. She nodded. "And you are the flesh." Before they could speak more, the voice finished. "If the keys are united, the seal can be remade, but only through sacrifice." Liam frowned. What kind of sacrifice? The hologram flickered and vanished. Suddenly, the door behind them exploded open. 3 human soldiers stepped in, guns raised. Behind them, Commander Voss. Gray hair, cold eyes, a scar running down the left side of his face. "Liam," he said calmly. "Step away from the alien." Liam didn't move. Voss stepped closer. "This is not a request. You are under direct military order. That thing beside you is a threat to humanity." "No," Liam said. "She's our only hope." "Hope?" Voss laughed. "You've lost your mind." He aimed his weapon at Nera. Liam stood in front of her again. Voss sighed. "You've left me no choice." And then the floor began to rumble. The entire station shook violently. From deep beneath the heart room, something massive was rising. Nera turned to Liam. "It's here," she said. The creature in the dark. The ground cracked beneath their feet. The walls of the heart room trembled. Liam grabbed Nera's arm and pulled her back as a giant piece of the floor collapsed, revealing a black pit beneath. From deep inside that pit came a sound, low and deep, like the growl of a giant beast waking from 1,000 years of sleep. Even Commander Voss, standing with a gun still pointed at them, turned his head in confusion. "What the hell?" he whispered. From the pit rose a shape, at first just shadow, then slowly becoming something solid. A giant hand, made of metal and bone, reached out and grabbed the edge of the hole. A second hand followed. Then, pulling itself into the room, the monster came into full view. It was a creature not meant to exist. 12 feet tall. Its body was part machine, part decayed flesh. Glowing red lines ran down its arms. Its mouth had no lips, only rows of sharp, broken teeth. Its eyes were pure black, filled with swirling smoke. Its voice was no voice at all, but a feeling, fear itself. The soldiers froze. Even Voss took a step back. The creature stood still for a moment. Then its head snapped toward Nera. It didn't move like a living thing. It moved like a nightmare, fast and without sound. Nera stepped in front of Liam. "It's him," she whispered. "One of the first. The Void Maw's hand. The one they left behind. To open the seal." The creature opened its mouth and let out a silent scream. A wave of pressure exploded outward, throwing all 3 soldiers against the wall. Metal cracked. Bones snapped. Voss hit the ground hard. Liam and Nera barely stayed on their feet. "We can't fight that," Liam shouted. "We have to," Nera yelled back, "or everyone dies." The creature moved. In one step, it was across the room, swinging its arm like a blade. Nera blocked it with her body. A shield of light burst from her glowing scars, protecting them. But barely. The impact threw her to the floor. She coughed, glowing blood dripping from her mouth. "Nera," Liam shouted, running to her. "I'm fine," she whispered, "but we need to connect." "What?" "You and me," she said. "The 2 keys. We need to merge, or this thing will tear the station apart." "But what does that mean?" he asked. "I don't know," she cried. "I've never done it before." The creature stepped closer, its mouth stretching open. From inside its body came black wires, sharp and alive. They reached out, grabbing at the floor, the walls, absorbing power. Liam turned and stared into the monster's eyes. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't special. He was just a man. But now he was the only one who could stop the end of everything. He grabbed Nera's hand. "What do I do?" "Trust me," she said. She pulled him closer, placing her forehead against his. Lights surrounded them both. Liam's body glowed. His veins lit up like stars. The mark on his chest, left by Nera earlier, shined bright. The room shook. The creature screamed again and lunged forward. But it was too late. Liam and Nera's bodies lifted into the air. A blast of light exploded outward. The creature was thrown backward, smashing into the wall. Liam could feel her thoughts inside his head now. Her memories, her pain, her loneliness. And she felt his. He saw her standing alone in a lab, trapped in a cage. She saw him on Earth, walking through broken cities after war, always helping others, but never feeling seen. They were the same. Born to survive. Alone. But not anymore. Together, they landed gently back on the floor. Nera opened her eyes. Her scars were glowing like fire. Liam's eyes now held a soft gold light. The creature stood again. But this time, it looked unsure. Liam stepped forward. "You want what's inside us," he said, voice calm but full of power. "Come and try." The creature roared and charged. Nera lifted her hand. A wave of light blasted from her palm, hitting the beast in the chest. It burned, screamed. Then Liam ran forward, jumping onto the creature's back, grabbing one of the metal wires connected to its spine. "Now," he shouted. Nera focused all her power. Another blast. This one hit the creature's head. It fell to its knees. Liam pulled the wire loose. The beast screamed one final time and exploded into smoke and light. The room went silent. Liam dropped to the ground, gasping for air. Nera fell to her knees beside him. They were shaking, weak, but alive. The soldiers, what was left of them, stared in fear and confusion. Commander Voss, bleeding from his forehead, raised his gun again. You've become like them," he said to Liam. "You're not human anymore." Liam stood up slowly. "I'm still human," he said. "But now, I understand what it means to protect more than just my kind." Voss aimed the gun. But before he could fire, Nera stepped in front of Liam again. "You don't belong in this room," she said. Voss hesitated. He lowered the gun, but his face was full of hate. "This isn't over," he said. And then he limped away, disappearing into the broken hallway. Liam turned to Nera. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded. "You did it." "No," he said, smiling weakly. "We did it." But before they could rest, the floor below them cracked again. Not from the creature. From something deeper. Something still waking. Nera looked down, eyes wide. "It wasn't alone," she whispered. "That was just one hand of the beast." The betrayal and the choice. The lights in the heart room dimmed. Nera leaned against the wall, her glowing scars flickering like fading stars. Liam stood beside her, gripping his side where a sharp piece of armor had cut him. They had survived the creature. But the silence now felt more dangerous than the battle. Something deeper had awakened. Something bigger than anything they had seen. Then came the voice, cold and familiar. "I told you," said Commander Voss, walking slowly back into the chamber, supported by two other soldiers in dark armor. These weren't the regular Marines. Their suits were black and silver, marked with the elite sigil of Earth's inner security. They weren't here to help. They were here to end things. Voss stopped a few steps away. "You two just opened the last lock. The void maw is rising. And it's all thanks to you." Liam narrowed his eyes. "What are you talking about?" Voss smiled grimly. "You think you're saving the galaxy. You're not. You're finishing what the Carol started. They didn't just trap the void maw. They fed it. They used it." Nera stood up, breathing hard. "That's a lie." "Is it?" Voss replied. "Why do you think they made you? Why give you a piece of their power? Why store memories inside human minds?" He took a slow step forward. They needed someone else to open the door for them. Someone with enough hope, enough faith. Someone like you, Liam. Liam's hands clenched. "No, I've seen the memories. The Carl died protecting the seal." Voss laughed bitterly. "That's the story they left behind. But stories can be rewritten." He lifted a small black device from his belt and tossed it at Liam's feet. It hummed and glowed. A projection flickered to life. Another Carl. But this one looked different. Not calm. Not wise. It was angry. "We are not gods," the alien spoke in a language translated by the device. "We are survivors. And survival sometimes demands sacrifice." The maw feeds on fear, yes, but fear can be controlled. Directed. The projection ended. Voss stared at them both. They were never saviors. They were engineers. And you. He pointed at Nera. You are their final weapon. Nera's eyes burned. I am not them. Then prove it, Voss said. He tossed something else onto the ground. A small silver cube, glowing blue in the center. Liam looked at it. He recognized it from the vision in the heart room. The seal, he whispered. Yes, said Voss. If you use it now, you can lock the void maw away forever. But there's a cost. Nera's voice was quiet. One of us must stay behind. Liam turned to her. What? The 2 keys can only activate the seal from inside, she said. It requires a full merge. 1 mind, 1 soul. And once the seal is closed, Liam said slowly, the key can't leave, she finished. The chamber fell silent. Liam looked down at the silver cube, the soft blue glow pulsing like a heartbeat. I'll do it, he said. Nera's head snapped up. No. Yes, Liam said. You heard what he said. I'm the one who was chosen. I carry the memory. It has to be me. She stepped forward. No, Liam. I was made for this. I'm the weapon, remember. I've spent my whole life running from what I was designed to do. Maybe this is my way to choose something good. He shook his head. And what if I let you go? What happens then? You've seen how Earth treats you. They'll chase you again, lock you up, fear you. She gave a small, sad smile. Maybe. But I'm used to being alone. I'm not, Liam said quietly. They stood facing each other, hearts heavy, the void maw's shadow growing larger by the second. Then, Voss raised his gun. Enough, he said. You want to play heroes, fine. But I'm not risking Earth's future. I'll decide who stays. He aimed at Nera. Liam moved fast, too fast. He tackled Voss to the ground. The 2 rolled across the floor. The gun skidded away. The black-armored soldiers stepped forward. Nera held up her hand. Her energy flared, bright and fierce. Don't, she warned them. They stopped, unsure. Liam landed a punch across Voss's jaw. Blood flew. Voss spat and grabbed Liam's collar. You think she's worth it? After everything. Liam shoved him back. She's worth everything. Nera walked slowly to the cube. She looked back once, eyes shining. I'm sorry, Liam, she said. No, he breathed, crawling toward her. Please, don't. She picked up the cube and pressed it to her chest. Light burst outward. The room exploded in color. Liam screamed as energy surged through his body. He felt her thoughts, calm, soft, full of goodbye. Thank you for seeing me, she whispered in his mind. Then, silence. The light faded. Nera was gone. The cube sat on the ground, now dim and gray. The seal had been activated. The void maw was gone. And so was she. Liam dropped to his knees, silent tears falling. Voss stood slowly. It's over, he said. Liam didn't answer. He just stared at the spot where Nera had stood. The last stand, and a new beginning. Liam sat in silence. The heart room was quiet now. No more rumbling. No more danger. No more glowing lights or ancient voices. Just silence. Where Nera had once stood, there was only a faded shimmer in the air, like a memory refusing to leave. The silver cube, now cold and lifeless, sat on the floor between his knees. Liam stared at it, unmoving, as if still waiting for it to glow again. But it didn't. She was gone. And the galaxy was safe. But why did it feel like he had lost everything? Behind him, soldiers came and went. Technicians moved through the wreckage, scanning walls and collecting pieces of alien tech. Voss had been taken back to the command ship, alive but injured and under investigation. No one spoke to Liam. They didn't know what to say. He had saved them. He had sealed the maw, and yet he looked broken. Days passed. Liam was cleared for return to Earth, but he refused. He stayed in the ruins of the station, living in a small corner of the command deck, sleeping in his armor, eating only when forced to. He had done what no soldier had done before. And yet, all he wanted was one more minute with her, one more word, one more smile. Then, on the seventh day, something changed. It began with a flicker, a soft pulse of light on the silver cube. At first, Liam thought he imagined it. He blinked, rubbed his eyes. The cube blinked again, slow, steady. He picked it up. The cold surface warmed in his hand. Suddenly, the air around him shifted. A whisper, like wind through trees, echoed in the chamber. And then, her voice. "If you're hearing this, then I'm still part of you." Liam froze. "Nera," he breathed. The cube floated from his hand, glowing brighter, spinning in place. A hologram appeared, not of her body, but of her light. Her shape, her energy, beautiful and soft, like she had always been. "Liam," the voice said gently, "I knew you would stay. I knew your heart wouldn't leave this place. That's why I left this message behind." His hands trembled. "I merged with the seal, yes," she continued, "but not all of me had to go. A part of me, my thoughts, my memories, my hope, I left it inside you. Inside your light." The hologram floated closer. "You showed me something I never believed existed in this galaxy. Kindness. Not power. Not fear. Just kindness. And it changed me. It freed me." Tears filled Liam's eyes. "You are more than a key, Liam," she said. "You are proof that light still lives in the darkest places. You are my hero." The projection began to dim. "But this is not the end," she said. "This is your beginning." The cube gently landed back in his palm and went quiet. Liam held it close to his chest. For the first time since she vanished, he smiled. 3 months later, Earth had changed. After the battle at the station, humanity finally accepted that it was no longer alone. News spread of the seal, of the creature called the Void Maw, of the mysterious alien girl who gave her life to save them all. They didn't know her name. But Liam did. He told her story everywhere he went. He told it to governments, to scientists, to children. And slowly, the fear of the unknown began to fade. People started listening, learning, and believing. A new alliance was formed, a union between Earth and the surviving traces of Carol technology. Liam helped lead the project, but he never asked for credit. He didn't want medals. He didn't want titles. All he wanted was to build a world where no one like Nera would ever have to hide again. 1 year later, Liam stood in a large hall of polished crystal and metal, Earth's first interstellar peace center. Around him were beings from 5 different planets. They were gathered not for war, but for unity. He stepped up to the center podium. In his hand was the silver cube. "I carry the memory of someone who was born in darkness," he said, his voice strong but gentle, but chose light. He looked up, eyes scanning the room. She wasn't human, but she was the most human soul I've ever known. Silence. Then slow, steady applause. In the corner of the hall, a hologram flickered. Just for a second. Just a whisper. A silver-haired figure, eyes glowing gently, watching, and then gone. But Liam saw it, and he smiled. Later that night, Liam sat alone on the balcony of his quarters, staring at the stars. The silver cube rested beside him. He whispered to the sky, "Wherever you are, thank you." The cube blinked once. Soft, warm, almost like a heartbeat. A message from beyond. In a distant part of the galaxy, a ripple moved through the stars. A force once called the Void Maw was no more. In its place, silence. But not empty silence. Peace. And in the heart of a forgotten system, a garden began to grow. Not made of plants, but of light. A single flower bloomed there, made of crystal and memory. At its center, two small lights spun together. One human, one alien, still united, still watching, still protecting. Forever. The end.